So WWE was in town last night. They put on a really good show. Really, really good show. This was my second ever WWE live event. And the first that I went to, it was about between 4,000 and 5,000 people. It's a really good house. It's a hot crowd. Had a good time then. Last night it was significantly smaller crowd. It was maybe only like close to 3,000 maybe at most. But it was a much hotter crowd than the previous show. Blazing hot crowd. Really, really into everything that WWE was putting out there. Seemed like for the most part everyone there was a fairly hardcore fan. All the storylines and all that sort of stuff were observed. And I had a really good time. Can't wait for the next show. So off the hop, first match of the night was an 8-man tag, and in the 8-man tag it was Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, Damian Sandow, Curtis Axel, Connor, and Victor of Ascension, Kalisto, Sin Cara, Heath Slater, and a person who I thought was an unnamed local talent, but as it turned out, it was actually, I don't even know if he actually is a WWE superstar, but WWE employee certainly, Bradley Maddox. They were all involved in an over-the-top workout to start the show. It was a really fun match. It got the crowd really into it. Every dude definitely got a spot or two to shine as much as they could. And altogether, I thought it was a great match. For a 8-man battle royal with a bunch of lower card gentlemen. Yeah, good time. No complaints. And in the end, it was Kofi going over thanks to Big E's interference. He was the only person standing on the outside. New Day being New Day. So, second match of the night was Stardust versus Zack Ryder. And Stardust had a really, really strong following from what I could tell. People were cheering him quite a bit. Zack was really over, surprisingly. Like, there was nobody booing him or saying that he was a joke or anything. Everybody was just like, come on, Zack, cheering for Zack. A lot of woo-woo-woos. I was woo-wooing. Everyone around me was woo-woo-wooing, surprisingly. So, good job, Zack. And the two guys put on a great match. Yeah, just really, really solid match. It was a little slow, if anything. The pace was a little tiny bit slow, but there was a lot of good spots. Good psychology, from what I can tell. And Stardust goes over with the crossface. Cody Rhodes goes over with the crossface. And immediately after that, we are teased with the main event of the evening. Where up on the big screens we see Bray Wyatt in the back in his smoky room. That smoky room that I guess goes with him wherever he goes. And he's talking about this and that Bray Wyatt usually talks about. And the acoustics are really poor, so I couldn't really tell what he was talking about as much as I wish I could. And it didn't seem pre-recorded, honestly. It seemed like he was actually in the back somewhere in the arena doing it, which I thought was really neat for house shows. They take the time to have a backstage promo. It's good. I know he said Roman Reigns at the end, and there's a pop, so good job, well done. Brave. Match number 3, it was Rusev with Hatsuma Ray facing who I thought at the time was Jimmy Uso, because I can never remember which Uso is which, but watching the replay back, it was Jey Uso. And I'll be honest, I'd never seen Jey Uso in a singles match before. And the guy can wrestle. He can definitely wrestle. Dare I say it, I was reminded of The Rock in the way that he wrestles, for obvious reasons. It was good. No, he's an entertaining worker. And a part of me was expecting it to just be like a really short squash match, where Rusev just plows through him, and that's that. But no, they put on like a solid 10 to 12 minute long match. Lots of back and forth. Uso was able to get some spots in, got a Samoan drop and all that kind of stuff, high spot. And Rusev even took the time at the beginning to grab the microphone and say, "Stupid Lana," like he usually does. But stupid Lana is not here, and she's a cold fish, and that sort of stuff that he's talking about right now. And I actually thought, oh yeah, Lana's not here. Stupidly. Because towards the end of the match, Lana just storms out after, I might add, a lot of "We Want Lana" chanting. And she came out. Huge pop. The whole place is on their feet. It's like the last show I went to when Natalya Neidhart came out. Or the whole place is on their feet. The whole crowd popped huge for Lana the same way. I was shocked. Pleasantly surprised. Lana came in and did a little business with Summer and promptly left. But even still, Rusev went over with the unstoppable accolade. Entertaining match. Match number 4 was New Day once again. This time it was Big E and Kofi Kingston. And they had a shot at the WWE Tag Team Championship. The Primetime Players. In a title match. Last show I went to, it was... if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Bad News Barrett versus Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship. And neither of those fellas were at last night's show. So last night's title match was PTP versus New Day. And man, PTP was so over. So over. Like everything they did, the crowd cheered, really into, especially Titus. A lot of "Let's Go Titus" chanting. Like I was very pleasantly surprised that they were so over. And man, those guys can connect with the crowd. D. Young and Titus, they're so, like they understand. They get what it takes to connect with the audience. Me as a member of the audience, I felt they like very connected to them. It was effortless. And New Day are fantastic here. Like obviously they're a little bit over because they're so funny and cool. But then once they get into the ring, Xavier Woods starts cutting this promo about how staying positive despite being uneducated, and he's like, we're staying positive despite the fact that while the rest of the WWE is off having fun in the sun in Australia, we've been relegated to this marginalized backwater. Too much booing. But still some people laughed and clapped because they found it so funny. I don't blame them. Good match altogether. Lots of back and forth. For me, it was the match of the night. Excellent match. D. Young and Titus have improved so much since... Like, to me, their coming out party was the Elimination Chamber, where both of them were really, really good. The Elimination Chamber tag match, which started off the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. From then on, that's when they've had momentum, and they've become an excellent team. They work together really well. Excellent teamwork. And in the end, it was the two of those guys going over with Titus hitting a spinebuster on Kofi. Excellent match. Great time. Can't wait to see those guys perform again. Next on the night was the Divas match. It was an excellent Divas match. And the Divas weren't advertised at all when I bought my ticket. I had no idea if they were going to be coming or not. I knew there'd be at least one Divas match. There has to be one. And boy, were we in for a treat. It was Team Bad, Tamina Snuka, Sasha Banks, and Naomi facing off against PCB, Paige Charlotte, and Becky Lynch in a 6-woman tag match. And this match was everything I could have wanted. Now the only reason why this wasn't the match of the night for me was just because the tag titles were on the line. And PCP and New Day, they're just two very polished tag teams. And watching two polished tag teams deliver excellent psychology, like 2v2, it's hard to top. In a 6-person tag, it's hard to get that same level of intensity because there's just so many people. Too many people to focus on. And in listening to Ric Flair's podcast, and speaking so highly of his daughter, and everything he says I agree with for the most part. Not even for the most part. Everything he says about her I agree with. He says the one, I guess, shortcoming in her game right now is her selling, and that she needs to work more. And I agree, like I said. And I'm very pleased to announce that in the match last night, it's almost like the whoever the road agent was, like it's like that's like, all right, ladies, the focus for tonight's match is going to be Charlotte selling. And I'm glad it was, because it's like the whole match was just sort of based around this psychology of Team Bad is going to single out Charlotte and they're just going to just beat the dog shit out of her. The whole match. And they're going to prevent her from getting tags. And the preventing her from getting tags was very, very, very well implemented, particularly by Sasha. Just like watching her on TV, and this is my second time seeing Sasha live. Watching her on TV, I always remark on how smooth she is as a worker, and like how her spots, they just, because she does them so quickly and so seamlessly, they just seem to come out of nowhere. And there's this one spot where Charlotte was desperately trying to get a tag, and the way she seamlessly, the last second, grabbed her by the wrist and planted her feet and prevented Charlotte from getting the tag. Just a simple little spot like that made the whole crowd go, oh! Man, those ladies are so talented. And Charlotte is even more impressive in real life, just how strong she is. So strong. Like, nobody has to make her look strong. She actually is that strong. I'm positive she could toss me around, no problem. She could toss around dudes bigger than me, I'm sure. Oh yeah, and Paige was Paige. Paige was everything that I could have hoped for. I had no idea Paige was coming out. Paige comes out. If you have the chance to go see those ladies live, please do, because it's worth it. And the finish was Becky, and Becky hardly got a chance to really work in this match, surprisingly. She didn't really get too many chances to get in. And she won with the disarmer, her finishing submission, which she put on TV. Good match. It was about 15 or so minutes. It was the main event. Before the main event, there was this brief Miz TV segment. And I thought to myself, why is this Miz TV? It's not televised. Shouldn't it be like Miz Live? Anyway, for Miz Live, Miz comes out and does his usual, like, 2 minutes of, you know, my hand goes up, your mouth goes closed, and then I'm going to take my glasses off, and then shut up. You know, the good heel stuff that Miz is known for, and I appreciate it. And once he goes through that whole spiel, he starts talking about Big Show, and I thought, oh, okay, here's the Big Show spot. And I noticed that Miz is not dressed for ring action. He's not wearing boots. So there wasn't going to be a match. I thought, what's Big Show going to do? We're going to come on and cut a promo, maybe? But it's like Miz says Big Show's name, excuse me, 2 or 3 times. The show comes down the ramp. And this is the most surprising moment of the night. Big Show got a very positive reception. Nobody booed him. I guess this is like a not at all a smart mark audience that I could tell. There's a few people during the Stardust match that were chanting, "We want gold dust," which I thought was pretty funny. Whenever Bray Wyatt would appear, there was a few people who were chanting Husky Harris, which I thought was funny, really funny. But there weren't too many smart marks. Everybody popped huge for Big Show. That says a lot. So Show walks down, walks slowly down, and does some business with Mike, as you would expect and hope. And then Big slows on out of there. And that was that. Onward to the main event. The main event of the evening, and just like the previous WWE show that I went to, the main event was Roman Reigns versus Kane, and the audience could vote whether they wanted it to be a street fight or not a street fight, and it was resoundingly, definitely a street fight. And same thing for tonight's main event, Roman versus Bray Wyatt. Surprisingly, it was much closer, but it still wound up being a street fight. So we got to see some weapon spots between RR and the Eater of Worlds, and gosh, it was a great match, really good match. But it was like, you know, it was a weapon-laden spot fest. Like it didn't have the psychology of like their match at Battleground, which is, oh my goodness, their match at Battleground I go on and on. I really, really loved it. One of my favorite matches of the year. But their match last night, yeah, it was a spot-laden weapon fest. It was fun. It was for the fans, for the children. Speaking of children, perfect time to segue into this. There is this point in the match where, if I'm not mistaken, Bray had Roman down in a rear chin lock, and he was just working a hold, doing just working a hold, and this guy in the audience throws his. He had a Money in the Bank briefcase, and he chucks it in the ring, right on top of Roman's head, just bonk, right on his head, and Roman was facing away from him, and he was on the ground, so there's no way Roman could have moved out of the way of it, because Bray was holding him down, if I'm not mistaken. He's quite helpless. So he just takes this briefcase, this full briefcase off the head, which I have to think would hurt a lot, and would make a guy really mad. And it's totally uncalled for. But oh man, security just jumps all over him. The referee jumped out of the ring and jumped all over him. That guy got bounced real quickly to a loud chorus of "Kick him out." I didn't record it because I was too busy dealing "Kick him out." So they got him out of there. The match continued. It was really funny that Bray didn't beat on Roman while they're kicking that guy out. Roman was like in the corner, like massaging his own head, and Bray was just kind of like pacing back and forth with a kendo stick. It's kind of funny. So then the match continues, and referee's like, "Okay, match continues," and then Bray just sprints in and smashes him with a kendo stick, and then they continue fighting. I think Roman has this thing anytime he's in a street fight. His opponent gets to do their finisher through him through the table, and he'll kick out at 2. Because that's what happened the previous time. Kane hit Roman with a choke slam through a table, kicked out at 2. And then last night, Bray hit Roman with this kind of like modified choke slam, sort of like rock bottom type move through the table, kicked out at 2. But then a little bit later on in the match, Roman hit Bray with a fucking power bomb through a table, and Bray kicked out. Bray teased Sister Abigail a couple times, but no dice. Roman winds up hitting a spear, Superman punch, 1, 2, 3. Everyone goes home happy. Oh, and that guy threw the briefcase. As I was on my way out of the arena, I purchased this Kevin Owens shirt, and as I was at the merch table buying the shirt, I noticed that guy. He was handcuffed to the actual like the metal cage that all of the merch products are hung on. He was handcuffed there, right by the front door. And he appeared really drunk. He was just sitting on the ground, and his mom was there. His mom looked really mad. I don't blame her. And my assumption is that they were holding him there so that he'd be forced to apologize to Roman. Hope he did. Because a dick move. Real dick move. And WWE, real good move coming to Victoria. Please come again. I had a great time. So did my friends. And New Day rocks. New Day rocks.